What is going on, everybody? We are back, another episode of the NEW podcast. Hopefully, you guys have been tuning in, liking the content. We've been trying to get episodes weekly. WrestleMania is next or this weekend. As I upload this, it'll be the weekend of this week, so can't wait for that. So, Tears, how we doing today? Are we hyped for WrestleMania?
I would say compared to other WrestleManias, this one definitely is up there. The last Mania for me would probably be 38. Is that the one where it was Kofi versus Bryan? I could be wrong. I
Think
think I'm
so.
wrong.
Might have been 37. I don't know. There's WrestleMania just flying on by anymore. I don't even know the numbers
Well,
after that.
considering they don't do numbers anymore, kind of
Yeah.
hard to do.
Well, it should be a
But
good
yeah,
one.
it's good.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
A
I'd
lot of
say it
good
has a good
matches.
card.
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of storylines that could progress, and we'll get into some of that. So we got one topic, and Undertaker having a podcast is still not something I'm going to get used to. I'm still not used to seeing him out of character and talk. I love hearing Undertaker's perspective and his stories and everything. It's just weird hearing him talk normally. But he was talking about Sting's retirement and how he's happy for Sting, and he got into depth about like how he wanted to face Sting in WWE, and apparently him and Sting both wanted that match. Vince said no. So, Tears, I'll ask you this. Do you blame Vince for saying no? Is that a match you would have wanted to see? It was a dream match for sure at that, really just any time.
I would say yes. I wanted to see it when we had Sting, even then. Um, but I remember hearing a story, and I can't remember the full context. So somebody in the comments, please elaborate if you can find it. But they mentioned to where like how Sting's run would go completely matters on how Triple H and Sting's WrestleMania match went, and with how it went, meaning that Sting lost to Triple H, that's what caused Vince to go, yeah, no, we ain't gonna do this one, Chief. So I kind of do blame Vince on this one. But there could also be the whole situation where you could say, well, the plan was eventually going to happen, but Sting got injured against Rollins, and that sidelined everything. So I would say yes, but I could see why not.
Yeah, there's both sides to it. Like I could see why like Vince would say, okay, both these guys are older. Undertaker was having some health issues. His matches weren't really on par of what we've seen from Undertaker at that time period. So maybe Vince is like, both these guys are 50, 60. Even Undertaker said he thinks some fans probably would have been disappointed by it, 'cause I think some fans would have thought it would have been an unbelievable match. But really, at that age, who knows what we would have
Eh,
gotten?
I don't think it's safe to say Vince took their age in perspective because we still got years later Goldberg versus Taker.
That's a fact. That is
Yeah,
true.
like
And that match
I
was just
wouldn't say
horrible.
they cared at the time about age.
Yeah, so maybe Vince was just thinking like you
Probably
said,
because it was just Sting's a
injuries.
WCW guy. That could
Yeah,
honestly
that
be it.
too. Yeah, Vince always holds grudges with other promotions and shit. So yeah, maybe that was the case. I mean, that definitely would have been a dream match. It sucks it never happened. But, I mean, it's just going to be one of them what if it happened or what if WWE would have done that. But who knows?
I mean, there's a lot of matches like that to where like everybody wants to say like, oh, this would have been the greatest match if it happened. Oh, we should have had this dream match because I'm pretty sure people still talk about the Brock Lesnar Stone Cold match that never happened. Like people want to see that
Hell
too.
yeah.
But I feel like it's best certain matches, of course, being to where like it's best to actually just leave them being a dream match because if they actually happen and they didn't live up, then that could have hurt. Because another one that come to mind, and I'm fairly certain this one never happened, or at least when they were in the prime, Shamrock or Ken Shamrock versus Kurt Angle. I'm pretty sure that would have been everybody's technical masterpiece dream match.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just a
AJ
match that
Styles
comes
and
to my
Shawn.
mind.
That's another match a lot of people want to see when they're both in their primes, I should say. Definitely not now, but that's like a
So
match.
like 2008,
Yeah,
maybe.
around that, yeah. Those two would have had a 5-star classic in that time period, for sure.
I'm curious what people consider to be prime AJ. I'm very curious about that conversation.
Yeah, because some might consider 2015 WWE, some might consider his TNA days. Yeah, that's an interesting one, but we'll never know what Undertaker and Sting would have been like. It's a match a lot of us dreamed of and never happened. But speaking of WWE, Raw this week was fire. I loved it. I thought it had a lot of good segments. I enjoyed the Ricochet and JD McDonough match. Seems like Ricochet's been winning a lot more, which is good to see. I know there's a lot of
I can
fans who
see.
say, yeah, I know a lot of fans say, "Oh, Ricochet can't talk and he'll never be a main eventer in WWE," and a lot of that might be true, unfortunately. But he is one of the best in-ring workers there is. That ain't a question. Rock Cody segment was flawless. Loved the way they did. Apparently, Rock, Cody, and Triple H had a hand in that. That was great. The Punk, Drew, and Rollins segment was great as well. Just a lot of good moments. So, too, are you getting Attitude Era vibes from current WWE? I've seen a lot of comments online saying it's giving us Attitude Era vibes, and we're getting back to that era, and they're swearing a lot more, and there's blood, and there's all this other shit we haven't seen. What is your thoughts on the Attitude
I
Era?
I don't know about that one, Chief, because Attitude Era vibes, I feel like that's being too giving to the what it is right now. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like we spent so many years. Because the PG era, I believe I want to say that was the longest era in WWE history. Would that be safe to
Yeah,
say?
2008 to 2023, 24 PG era so far.
Jesus Christ, I hope that's wrong.
I think it is. Ever
um,
since Cena became the face, they went to PG in 2008 because I think it's when Leonard McMahon went into office. That's when they went PG. So yeah,
that
2008.
makes sense. I would say more ruthless aggression, but that's because I'm biased towards ruthless aggression. But to give it the Attitude Era 5, and I know people put that on a pedestal, but I'm not sure this is considered Attitude Era. I would say it's just more, just its own thing, you know? It's just trying to get away from the PG era in a way that still works. Because you can still see moments where, like, oh, this is kind of hokey.
Yeah, you're still gonna get those type of moments. That's with like the Alpha Academy and groups like that, and our
But
Truth.
to be fair,
And,
the Attitude Era was also hokey.
oh yeah, every company has its silliness, or any era has its silliness.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like WWE's just getting their own era. I think Triple H called it a certain era. I can't think of it right now what he called it, but he gave it its own name.
And it's way too early to say that.
Yeah, like, and don't get me wrong, when they move to Netflix, they're gonna have a lot of freedom to cuss because Netflix doesn't have like TV restrictions where you can't cuss and all this other shit. So they're gonna be swearing a lot and doing probably a lot more different things on Netflix. So that should be something to see.
Like that's in like in 8 or 9 months. So
Yeah, I think yeah,
yeah.
it's a while away.
And it's just is it just Raw or is it both SmackDown and Raw?
SmackDown's going to USA, NXT's going to CW, I'm pretty sure, and Raw is going to Netflix.
Oh God.
Yeah, CW getting NXT. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm my bad if that's not correct, but
Hey, but nah, because CW is
doing very bad right now. CW,
Oh
please
no.
cancel All American, please. The show's went on long enough. Since season 4, it's really just been complete garbage. Like a lot of those shows really fell off. But you were saying,
uh, what was I doing? Jesus. Oh yeah. I was saying to where like I feel like the this current era, whatever you want to call it, it's its own thing. And if it's to be looked at as another one, it's closer to Ruthless Aggression than Attitude Era.
I could see that, yeah.
Because they did a lot more stupid stuff in the Ruthless Aggression era, though, too.
Mm-hmm. They had a lot more silly stuff and everything going on.
It was more about making stars, too, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the Attitude Era people was leaving. A lot of the people after the Alliance angle, not many, but still some, managed to actually swim instead of sink. Van Damme, for instance.
Yeah, Van Damme was an interesting one. They at least tried in that era. We'll see. I mean, it was one Raw. I don't want to jump the fence yet and say it's, but I have loved the direction. I just feel like without Vince there, there's just more seriousness. There's more direction. There's more long-term storytelling.
I personally just feel like it's still just not the same thing each week. Like, it feels like its own episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can get what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can all say it's definitely improved. That's for sure under Triple H. That's for sure. We talked about Undertaker, and again on his podcast. I think this is on his podcast. I saw a tweet saying this, and he says that Bray Wyatt should have ended this streak. And I'll say this: I would have been okay with it because I saw Bray at that time being a younger version of the Undertaker. But I think Vince probably said no. But I mean, I feel like somebody like Bray would have made more sense than Brock to me because Brock's already accomplished so much, and he's kind of it's just kind of like Reigns beating him. It's just like okay, it's another thing on his accomplishments. Like if somebody like Bray beat Undertaker, it would have been like, oh shit, Bray's a star now. He beat Undertaker. But Tears, what do you think about Undertaker saying that about Bray?
I mean, that's big respect from Bray coming from Taker, but okay, I gotta clarify this though real quick. Was this before or after the streak ended? I can't remember.
Before, pretty sure. Yeah,
Let's
before.
okay. Uh, but I'm not sure Bray would have been the guy. But then again, to be fair, when it was Orton versus Undertaker, I believe Taker wanted Orton to end the streak then too. So
Mm.
I can get Undertaker saying that due to the fact like he seems to always wanted to be a new up and comer to beat the streak. I might be overbearing on that one, but I don't know about Bray. I feel I'm still in the camp to where the streak shouldn't have ended, or mm, I don't know. I
It shouldn't have
still
been the right person. I feel like Brock wasn't the right person to me. Some might disagree with that, but I feel like Brock and Reigns weren't people who needed to end the streak to me.
I mean, I could see that, but I can also understand because I saw the Inside the Ropes with Paul Heyman. They talked about to where like they were purposefully making Brock Lesnar seem like the biggest threat in all of WWE, and beating the streak that would do it. It did make Brock feel more intense, feel more powerful against his opponents. So it helped. It did somewhat help Brock, but I don't think they needed to take like a cheap way to do it there. Whereas Bray, oh god, if you here's the problem if you chose Bray, why did I say Bray? Whatever. Uh, what were you gonna do after that?
Yeah, because Bray was losing a lot on pay-per-views at that time. Really,
Yeah,
his whole
so
career. But
I guess that goes back to like the whole Brock Lesnar situation. And I'm not saying Brock was the right guy either. I'm just comparing the two together. Um, Brock was on a winning streak. He was on fire. He was getting ready to go back for the world title scene. Like the dude was just mauling everybody. And then when he went up against the Undertaker, you would have think, okay, this will be the end of that hot streak for Brock Lesnar. No, Brock Lesnar beat him, then he beat Cena, and he went crazy for a whole year plus. Whereas with Bray, he was losing matches going into the Mania, and then he had the match with Taker. So that means he was probably going to just get that big win, and then what? He would still have those losses under him, though.
yeah, I definitely see your point on that. Like Bray, he
He
want to
wasn't
gain
built.
something from
He
it, but
wasn't
what's the
built strong
direction?
enough.
Yeah, he took a lot of losses. Like I don't know. That's an interesting opinion from Undertaker. I know there's been a lot of people who have been. Edge even said they came to him and said, "You want to end the streak?" He said, "I'm not ending the streak." I mean, apparently they came to a lot of wrestlers asking to end the streak. A lot just
Yeah,
didn't want to do it.
yeah, I remember Edge talking about that, to where like the only thing that stopped Edge at WrestleMania 24 and again was Edge refused. He just kept on refusing to end the streak. I can't recall what was the story with Orton ending the streak. I can't remember what was the story about the first Shawn Michaels and Taker match. But there's been a lot of stories to where like so many people could have beaten the streak, but either management didn't see them as the right person, or the opponent just said no. But it never seemed like the Taker wanted to keep the streak going. Like it always seemed. And this is just me saying like silence doesn't mean yes or no. But since Taker never said anything about it, it seemed like he was okay with anybody beating him for the streak.
Yeah, it felt like he wasn't really invested as the fans were in the streak. I think he said he didn't even realize he had a streak till he was like 10 or 15 and 0 at WrestleMania.
It was 10. It was the
Yeah.
first time they acknowledged the streak was him versus Flair. I can't remember which Mania, but it was the one where it was his 10 when they finally reached double digits.
Yeah, and it's always going to be interesting to see who could have ended the streak. Obviously, went with Brock and Reigns. Maybe it was Vince, or apparently Vince went to Undertaker like 2 hours before the show and changed the end result and said Brock's beating you tonight after they already agreed Brock was losing. So Vince is just the kind of person where he changed his mind so much you just never knew what the hell was even going to happen. But I don't know. I mean, Bray would have been an interesting choice.
It might have been Brock and Paul Heyman's, like as like a side comment, and then they just went ahead and took it as like that sounds like a good idea for us.
Yeah, that was probably what happened. I mean, Paul Heyman's definitely very invested. Undertaker even said that Paul Heyman like is always involved with his creative because he cares a lot. So maybe he was thinking, oh, Brock's this man beast and he's destroying everybody. Let's have him beat Undertaker, Vince. How about it? And oh, okay, pal, let's do it. But
And to be fair, Paul Heyman knows how to make stars. He's a good businessman.
oh, he's one of the best wrestling minds ever. I mean, by the way, kudos to him for getting the Hall of Fame. Well deserved.
Hey, I was wondering when it would happen.
Yeah, it finally happened. So credit to him. But let's go to AEW. There's been some drama, which it seems like there's a lot of drama over in AEW. Something's always going on. Tony Khan and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Now, most of you know Jack Perry hasn't been seen since the Punk incident, where they pretty much got into it backstage. Punk, pretty much to justify the story, pretty much Punk told him we shouldn't use real glass. Jungle Boy used real glass anyways. I think he said something like "Cry Me a River" on TV. Punk confronted him backstage. They got
It was
into
at
a
the
shoving match.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, yeah. And pretty much Punk got fired because of that. And there's always a lot of theories that Punk wanted out of AEW. I can't talk out of AEW, and that was a reason. I don't know if that's the case. Nobody will actually know.
It might have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Definitely was. Um, but apparently, Jungle Boy and Tony Khan haven't spoken. Tony Khan seems like he don't really like drama. He just seems like that type of boss where he tries to get along with everybody. That could be good or a bad thing at times. But
I
pretty
think
much
lately
Jungle.
it's been bad.
Yeah, it's been bad. But pretty much Jungle Boy's in New Japan, and he wanted to come back to AEW. Tony Khan said, "Nah, we don't need you back right now." He said, "Well, can you let me out of my contract?" Tony Khan said, "No." So now that's pretty much the word going around. So Tears, what do you think of this whole Tony Khan and Jungle Boy Jack Perry drama that's going on?
Oh God, it's a real cluster. I'm gonna be completely honest, because I was somewhat okay with it until the knowledge came out to where like Jungle Boy wanted out of his contract, and then Tony Khan was just saying, "Nah."
Yeah, very
Because
WWE Vince type shit right there.
yeah, because like if they wanted their contract, like I get like if it's like a certain type of contract, which we are not privy to know, so we're just going as fans knowing about this. Yeah, you can't just like hold. But then again, he is allowed to wrestle in other companies too. It's not like to where like he's forced to stay in one place.
Yeah, because they're working with New Japan, so
Right. So, ooh, man. It's a grimy situation because on one hand, if he wants out of his contract, just let him out of his contract because you don't know like if he's in like an important situation in another company, and the moment that AEW wants to use him, who knows when at this point, he's gonna be forced due to contract to drop everything from for this other company and show up there, and then it turns out just to be a squash match. Like that would kill like any hype for him. If it was just one of those situations where like they just use his contract as a way to stop him from working like big angles. But I don't think they're that like devious to ruin his career.
nah, I don't think so either. I mean, I could see why he's frustrated with AEW because it's like if you're not using me, let me go. Let me try to go to Impact or somewhere. I don't know. Just it's a very odd situation. I get Tony Khan's frustration because in reality, he costed you the biggest star your company's had, and now he's in WWE and he's making WWE a lot of money, and people are invested in Punk and WWE right now. So I could get the frustration, but I don't know. It's a tough situation. I mean, WWE's done that with a lot of people. They just said, "Oh, you were hurt. We're putting on 6 months on your contract," or "You want out? Nah, nah, nah. We're not letting you out." So it's weird.
EC3, Pac. Let's see who else.
They did it with Rey Mysterio before.
Oh really? I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was like back when before Ray left because he wanted out, but he was hurt. And Vince was like, "Nah, we ain't letting you out. We're added like 8 months to your contract because you haven't wrestled." It I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens with Jack Perry. I mean, New Japan. I don't know what the group's called, but apparently they're like one of the worst groups in wrestling or just bad groups that he's in. So Not sure if New Japan's punishing him on Tony Khan's behalf or what the hell's going on.
I don't think they would do that. If it's, I don't know which group you're talking about. If it's, there's honestly too many groups in New Japan. There could be Taguchi. No, it's not Taguchi. Why would
Nah,
I
it ain't
say
that.
that?
It's like something with Darkness, I think, or something. It's like one of their worst booked groups or something. But I can't think of it. I don't know, but we'll just have to see what happens with Jungle Boy. I mean, I was a fan of him when he first got in AEW. I really liked Jungle Boy. Really thought he was going to be kind of a world champion there. It just never really came to fruition. And I don't know. A lot of the guys that AEW put on that four pillar really, but like Darby and MJF have lived up, but Sammy and Jungle Boy did not live up to what they were advertised to be, and part of that is booking, and part of that's their attitude or their in ring. But I don't know.
I think it's just the fact like they started to acknowledge the four pillars gimmick. Like I feel like that started to affect things.
It definitely did. Yeah, hopefully Jungle Boy figures it out. I mean, he's got Anna Jay in his life, so he's winning in some department, I guess. But wrestling wise, we'll just have to see what ends up with them. But two big names are going to be free agents soon, according to what Becky said in her interview that she has 2 months left on her deal. She said it's very likely she's going to end up back in WWE. Apparently, she wants big money, which, I mean, she deserves at this point. And Drew McIntyre is due for a contract offer. And part of me makes them both acknowledging that me think they're both going to win the titles at Mania because WWE, I don't know if Triple H's regime is like this, but Vince would always be like, oh, we'll re-sign, we'll give you a title. Not sure if they're going to do that with Drew and Becky, but Tears, what do you think they should do? And do you think, or do you see them both winning at WrestleMania due to their contracts being up?
I see this as, I'm gonna be honest, I just see this as them just like hyping up the matches even more, even though like it's already probably likely they're gonna re-sign. Like they're probably just pulling a Moxley and just using the whole hey our contracts are coming up as like a extension of the storyline, because I can't see Becky leaving for any reason whatsoever. And Drew, he's having, from the looks of it, the time of his life. And from what you told me, it's true that he's having the time of his life. So I can't imagine Drew not signing back. I feel like they're just going to wait till WrestleMania so that way it doesn't leak out somehow that they re-signed. But yeah, they're staying in WWE.
Yeah, it don't seem. I mean, Rollins' deal was up too soon, but him and Becky just they're treated very well in WWE. Not saying that's a reason for them to resign. It's just I don't really see what. Yeah, Becky has said, what else is there for me to do here? Which there's that part of it too, which you're thinking, okay, I've done everything here. Maybe I should go try something new. But I just feel like Becky and Rollins and Drew are comfortable where they're at, where they don't need to go somewhere else. I mean, Drew's doing some of the best heel work of his career right now with the whole Rip Punk's career and mocking Punk and mocking Rollins, and
I wouldn't even
he,
question if it's really technically a heel run either, because it just seems like just Drew speaking like the loud part out, like the quiet part out loud. Because
yeah,
like
could be that too.
when Punk re-signed with WWE, we all kind of said the same stuff too. Let's be honest. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah, we all did. I mean, I pretty much said he just came back for the money. He don't really care about the business. Some Punk fans
Right.
might hate me for saying that, but let's be honest. Punk came back to wrestling for the money. Let's be real here.
And Drew just straight up just says it to him. So honestly, it's a debate if like this technically counts as Drew being a heel. I think it's more lines to where like he's just the other's perspective of the story.
Yeah, it just adds more of an element to it, and like even Rollins is saying like WWE don't need you. We were doing fine without you, and a lot of truth to that. It's good to see all three of them in prominent roles, kind of more freedom. And to be honest, I think Vince being gone, and you can tell Vince is gone because they put logos on the mat in the ring, and Vince would never, ever, 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 ever allow that to happen.
Yeah,
So it's
he was too what's the word I'm looking for? protective of his ring.
Mm-hmm. He
Whereas
counted
putting
as sacred, pretty much, a sacred blade.
fine, him. But
Like the ring mat, pretty much. He didn't think it needed logos on it. It's like a sacred.
maybe what I like how New Japan's mats are, to where like there are logos up the wazoo on it. It like makes it feel genuine. It makes it feel real.
Yeah, it adds like more to it. It's advertising. I mean, they're in. Like it's gonna be weird seeing a giant Prime logo in the middle of the ring. That's gonna be taking some time to get used to, but
Yeah, that part. I don't know about the choice of the first brand to be on the mat, but you know, it'd be what it be.
yeah, I mean Logan Paul's doing good work for them, so I guess they made a deal. Back to AEW. The pay-per-view is gonna be in St. Louis, late April or late May. Yeah, late April. Excuse me. Main event. We saw Swerve win. Great match between him. God, I can never pronounce his name. Takashita, I think his name. He's the one with Don
Takagi.
Callis. I think fans should know what I'm talking about. He faced Swerve, a number one contender, very good match. Swerve against Joe was going to be the match. Now, Tears, is it time for them to pull the trigger with Swerve as a world champion? They've been pushing him. He's over. Is it finally time to have Swerve be the world champion in AEW?
Part of me wants to say yes because I just want to see him with the belt right now because it's really good. But on the other hand, I don't want Joe to lose the title yet. I want him to be the dominant force that we all know he can be, that we all saw him as when he was in TNA on his first and basically only TNA world title run. So it just depends. Like, do we want Swerve to be the world champion now? Yes. But do we also want Joe to have a dominant, destructive reign? Also, yes, I'm not going to lie. So it's one of those situations where like you can give us something we want, but that means we have to lose something that we like.
Yeah, it's kind of a take and give kind of situation.
Right, but to be fair, that's like with every championship change, to where like some people like who the current champion is, some people want it to be different. You can never cater to both sides. That's never going to happen in this sport.
Nah.
So,
It's a tough
God,
one. It's tough.
honestly, I feel like they pulled the trigger too soon for Swerve to go for the belt, because like I wanted to just like, oh, I enjoy Joe, but now we're here, and now all of a sudden Swerve is here, and I'm just like, not yet. I want to enjoy myself more.
Yeah, Joe has been had a good title reign, and man, that's tough, especially with MJF. How they, they've been trying to make more main eventers,
Right,
and who
but you
knows?
can't. But you don't really make main eventers just by like switching the belt, like
No, that's
here and
true
there.
too. But Swerve
Yeah,
definitely became a main eventer, though. He's over as hell and definitely at that level at this point,
right.
I would
But
say.
you just said it right there. He's already a main eventer. Does that mean like now? This is just me saying like an argument against it. Since he's already a main eventer in your eyes, does he really need the world title to remain as a main eventer?
It all depends on how AEW books him after he loses to Joe, to me. Because
Right.
AEW has a history of some guys just disappearing from television or, like, they kind of kill guys' momentum. Like, look at Wardlow. We talked about him before, how he was red hot and all of a sudden just like, boom.
Yeah.
And Miro, they had him come in, kind of looked like a geek a little bit. He came back as like the Rusev Destruction, and then he just disappeared again. Which some of that's his fault because he had an injury. He went back to Bulgaria. But I just hope they don't do that with Swerve. I don't think they're going to because he's over. But where does he go after he loses? That's what I always look at with a competitor. Like it's like after Cody lost to Reigns the first time, but I was like, okay, where does Cody go from here? This is his whole thing is beating Reigns. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it a little too deep, but I'm just curious what they're going to do if Swerve does lose, if that makes any sense to Joe.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine to do that. It goes back to like what we said about like if Bray was the one to beat the Streak, like what would have Bray done after that?
Yeah, like that's always an important thing.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know what they could do. I guess that would depend on how Thor would lose the match. Like,
Seems like him and Hangman's over.
I mean, that's what it seems, but that's not really
I think Hangman
concrete.
requested time off, so maybe he shows back
I
up,
mean,
possibly.
maybe.
I don't know. That's gonna be a tough book
maybe,
match. Regardless.
maybe a surprise Keith Lee.
Possibly, which I forget Keith Lee's even in that company anymore, to be honest. But
Right. I mean, like Swerve in Our Glory. That feud never really had a definitive end.
no, I don't know if Keith Lee had health issues. I know he battled like health issues. Maybe that's
Well, I know he not recently, but had a divorce.
oh him and Mia Yim got divorced.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow, that's
Or at least I remember everybody talking about that. Like, it was the most shocking thing ever.
wow. That's but they do work in different companies. That sometimes drives you apart when you're not with each other a lot or whatever.
Which is why, like, I understand why Andrade's back in WWE, why I understand, like, if Black goes back to WWE.
And Murphy too, like all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Mike Santana was on Chris Van Vliet, and he did say like he always saw two people going back to WWE. One is still in AEW, and the other one was Cody. And now everybody's wondering who the hell he's talking about. Maybe it's Malachi Black or Murphy, but we will see. I mean,
Well,
it's hard.
like I mentioned last time I was here, it was Black who ended AEW Cody Rhodes in kayfabe.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of guys are just gonna go back and forth between companies. Like,
There's
really,
nothing
it's
wrong with that.
nah. I mean, you're trying to make a living at the end of the day, and maybe sometimes wrestlers need a reset, like Cody and Drew did, where they go and kind of make a name and come back or something.
Right,
But
because by the end of the day, this is a competitive company like mentality. Like,
yeah, it's definitely.
and like these are still people, but at the same time, these are like important tools to make your company bigger. Of course, like these tools will need like all the things that they want to make sure they want to stay.
Yeah, like it's all about that. It's all a competitive business, like you said, and you just gotta choose between companies what you think's best for you. All about whether your significant other is in the other company has a lot to do with it too.
Right.
But I mean, both companies have their positives and negatives, like anything. But final topic, since WrestleMania is around the corner, we're going to talk about our two matches we're looking forward to the most. So, Tears, what's number two on your list of matches you're looking forward to the most for WrestleMania 40?
I like the unspoken story that's between Rhea and Becky. Because I was just strolling through Reddit. I think it was either yesterday or earlier today. Because I was bored. And so I don't want people to hate me. But this was just funny because this is what caught my eye instantly.
Rhea
It
Stink
was
Face?
it was about that. It was the text did talk about that. But the main picture was just like a house show, and it was just Rhea riding the back of her tight or trunks up to where like you just get full on cheeks, like in her giggling. I was like, okay, hold up, like that just caught my attention instantly. But then the text saying to where like Rhea Ripley is one of the most talked about, if not the number one woman wrestler in professional wrestling right now, which you can make a very good argument for. Um, and then, meanwhile, she's having a feud with Becky, who was the number one talked about female wrestler around the world. And Becky was talking about like how she had to work her ass off, whereas Rhea's just showing off her ass. But at the same time, it's just like, I mean, end of the day, it is supposed to be a fun thing. And if Rhea's having fun doing that, I'm not saying every female needs to do that. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that to get over. I wouldn't say like to hate someone for doing that, but that's why I said it's the unspoken part of the feud. It's because it's basically like which type of female wrestling do you prefer? Do you prefer like the fun, sexy, but still great, or do you prefer like just pure workhorse mentality?
That's a good way to look at it. I mean, it definitely is seem like the direction they're kind of going with it, especially in the promo they had on Raw and everything. So,
Right.
definitely a match to look forward to. I think it's going to be, I think that match and the Uso match will be two of the best matches on the card.
I think people are going to be watching the Uso match because there's still that rumor that I mentioned, like that I heard like months and months ago, to where like this is probably going to be the Usos' last WWE match.
Which that would be interesting, but that would probably be number two on mine is the Uso matches because I know they're both going to put on a good match. There's so much story,
But
and
I do have to say about that match. Do you think Solo is going to play a part in that match? Because he's the third brother. You can't really have this match unless Solo's somehow involved.
I could see it. I think Jimmy's gonna win this. I know a lot of fans
Really?
think Jay should win. I know Rikishi, their dad, even said that on his podcast that Jay should. I just feel like Jimmy hasn't really done much match wise. Like, yeah, he's in the bloodline and he's important, but like Jay's been getting all this hype and he's been winning and he won the tag titles without him and he's been, having the crowd doing, you know, whatever you call the wave or whatever during his
The Yeet.
entrances. Yeah, the Yeet. My bad. Yeah, that's what it's called. But like, we have Yeet against no Yeet. I think no Yeet's gonna win. I know a lot of fans might say, "Well, Jay's hot right now. Why would you have him win?" But if you're gonna continue this story, which I don't know if they are, they might have Jay win. This is their one time off match, and they both leave like you said. But if it continues, I think Jimmy has to win.
Now you see, I kind of am the exact opposite. I'm gonna have to say I think Jay should win and has to win, because it's just the fact to where like it goes back to like what the theme of this whole episode has been. What do you do after, and how did you book into it? Because like Jimmy has done nothing for this whole build up,
Yeah.
whereas Jay,
Just interfering.
whereas Jay,
Basically.
and whereas Jay, who has been like just constantly going in and out, going in, pretty much, and it's just like, well, if Jay wins, it's just gonna be another good day for Jay Uso. Whereas Jimmy, if he loses, well, that's awkward. But you know what? You can still rush off and come back another day. You took in enough losses to where like this shouldn't hurt you. I mean, it will, but at the same time, it's not going to be like the big thing. Whereas if Jay loses and they both still in WWE, that's going to hurt Jay a lot more than it's going to help Jimmy, because Jimmy, he hasn't been doing much in this build up, and after this build up, what are you going to do? You guys technically are still on separate brands.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I get your point with that. I mean, it just depends what the direction is. I do think there's going to be shenanigans in that match. And the bloodline always has fucking interference.
That's why I
So
brought up Solo.
yeah, he definitely could. But are they going to save Solo for Reigns and Cody because he interfered last year in that? I don't know if they'll have him interfere in two matches. That's why I'm like,
if the Rock and Roman win, I feel.
yeah, I feel like they will because I feel like, well, I'll go ahead and say that's number one for me is Rock or not Rock, but Reigns and Cody. And I feel like they're gonna make Cody almost. Yeah, so both of us agree on that.
Well, I was just saying like that's also my number one.
Okay, well, the reason I put number one because I feel like there's so much intrigue with that match. There's so many storylines they can go with. There's so many different directions. Does The Rock turn on Reigns? Does Rollins turn on Cody? Does Jay turn on somebody? Does the Bloodline interfere? Do they set up Reigns and Rock for next year? Does Paul Heyman accidentally do something stupid and cost them? Like, there's so much that could happen, and I feel like the Bloodline is gonna win night one because they want to make Cody define all the odds. They want him to just get his ass beat, and he's gonna just get beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten. And he's just gonna be that ultimate baby face where he eventually just defines all the odds and beats them. I don't know if that's how you see it going or why you're intrigued with this match, but that's my reasons.
I feel like the reason I'm into it is because like this has been one of the longest stories, and I'm gonna say this, like I'm also on that group that says like this story finally needs to just have a conclusion.
Oh,
It needs
100%.
to end. But that doesn't mean like I think the story is bad at all. I just feel like every good story has to have an ending, and I can see the Rock and Roman winning, but I feel like they still have a good chance of losing, because you can go both ways with this. Because if they lose, that means like there's no BS, and then it could finally be a fair match between Roman and Cody. Not saying it's gonna be, more likely there'll be shenanigans no matter what. Um, but if it's like a clean match and that's the one that Cody wins, that shows to where like Cody can actually do it on his own. And guess what? You can, if you guys want to continue it going, even though you shouldn't, you can set up the next pay-per-view like Roman's rematch about that, to where like in a fair one-on-one, Cody can beat Roman. Like that's a good thing
That's
to
an
add.
intriguing story.
Right. And I will say this, where like I see a lot of people pulling out every Easter egg showing where it is, and I kind of can't argue against it. I feel like The Rock's gonna turn on Roman.
It's definitely because if you look at their promo they did, Paul Heyman, because he doesn't raise his finger like the rest of them, he does a L. So
And he
little
also
things you
said,
see.
He also said on the first Bloodline promo to where like that I'm gonna make you the loser at Mania, and it was the only people that saw it was Heyman and Solo, that he was looking at Roman Reigns when he said
Mm-hmm.
that. That you see those little details like people can't not talk about, which is fun. Um, but for that to happen, I feel like the best course of action is for Roman and Rock to win night one, and then when his bloodline rules and Cody just gets prepped and attacks all people who are interfering, or he has help from Rollins, maybe Punk, maybe Jay, everybody that the bloodline has ever screwed over, even people who were in the bloodline. You can have Sammy and KO help him. And then towards the end, like The Rock comes out, nobody's able to stop him. Like everybody's either tired or out, or he already attacked everybody else. And then when he's getting ready to attack Cody, boom, rock bottom to Roman Reigns instead. Like he attacks Roman Reigns. Like that would be a nice twist, and that would also help set up Roman versus Rock, because they're no matter what they're gonna have that match. Like no matter what
Oh,
we
they will.
say.
It's set up for next year.
So I
That's
feel
firmly
like
planned.
having it be uh, The Rock attacked or betrays Roman on night two, after they confirm like it's going to be Bloodline rules on night one. That's how they both get Cody the belt and set up Roman versus Rock. And also, that'd be a way to completely dilute Roman Reigns' attention from the belt to The Rock. So we can be done with the Rock or the Roman versus Rhodes story.
Yeah, it needs to be done. But what happens? What happens with this? He's close to Hogan's record. I'm not
Yes,
just
I
including that in this. I still think there is a high possibility that bullshit happens and Reigns retains the title. I am not counting that out. I know fans think it's a foregone conclusion that Cody's gonna walk out as the WWE champion. I want it to happen, but I'm not fully sold on it happening. I was fully sold last year and it didn't happen. He is close to. This is the only chance they're probably gonna get in this lifetime to break Hogan's record.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people have also been mentioning that, to where like he's only like 6 or 5 months away from beating Hulk
I think
Hogan's
it's
record.
August or September he has to hold it till.
Is
Pretty
one
much
of
around
the
SummerSlam, yeah, around that time.
Yeah, it's one of those. And not only that, a lot of people are saying like what would really help the story is if it was at Madison Square Garden, where Cody or Dustin Rhodes was, or Dusty Rhodes, like was stripped of the title. So people are saying like it makes sense for it to be like at a show that's Madison Square Garden, where would be the exact same arena, and also it would allow Roman Reigns to beat the Hulk Hogan streak,
Definitely a
which
possibility.
yeah. However, there's two things against that for me. Like, not saying like I'm totally against the idea, but there's certain aspects that are against that idea. One, like, is Madison Square Garden really bigger than WrestleMania? Like, is it really?
No, not anymore. No.
Right. So it just depends on like how they describe WrestleMania compared to Madison Square Garden. And the other thing, and this is an interesting one, I don't know if you know this, but Triple H hates when they break records.
I could believe
Like,
that. But I don't
like
know.
he's not.
Triple H has some long title reigns though. He had Gunther break all the IC records.
Okay, well let me rephrase that. He doesn't like it when they break so many records at once.
I can believe that. Yeah. He wanted
Because I
Reigns to
believe
lose
they're.
last year, and Vince came back and was like, "Nah, we're having Reigns retain." So Triple H wanted Reigns to lose last year at WrestleMania.
Well, I think he also didn't even want the streak to ever end too.
Yeah, probably that too.
Right. So it's definitely one of the things to where like, does Triple H want the break the Hogan era like streak? But I mean, on one hand, Hogan is a pretty hot topic for wrestling. So maybe this will be their only chance to not have Hogan brought up as much. But at the same time, do you really want all the records to be at this point in time? Like all the records in
Yeah,
WWE to be set up for now?
that's tough to decide on because I mean, it don't seem like WWE really gives a damn about Hogan because they might get him for WrestleMania. So it ain't like they're like, well, we don't care about Hogan. But like, I don't know. It's gonna be intriguing. I don't think anybody knows exactly what's gonna happen in this match. A lot of fans think Cody's gonna win, but how does he win? I don't think Reigns gonna lose in a clean way. I just don't. There's too many Easter eggs of The Rock potentially turning and maybe even Solo turning on him. That could be a possibility too, because they've teased that match, or they said that match event is going to happen Solo and Reigns. Man, it's going to be a hell of a WrestleMania when it comes to story. I see a lot going on.
I'm saying like between each show that happens now and Mania and even Mania itself, just pay attention to what The Rock's body language is.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge part of it because I think in Rock's mind, he thinks he's the king of the bloodline, not Reigns, but he's keeping that to himself.
Cody mentioned like a good point where like who's the head of the table, the tribal chief or the final boss, and I was like, the final boss does sound like a cool last name or like a nickname, like that.
Oh, it's really badass. Cool. The Rock, listen, The Rock. It's crazy that none of this happens without the fans voicing the Cody, we want Cody movement so much. But this Rock heel run has been magnificent. I have loved it. He's just a badass, The Rock. He's just a naturally good heel. It's just.
Can I point something out that happened on Raw that I'm not seeing anybody talk about, and I want to get it off my chest because it would be really fun.
Before we wrap it up. Go right ahead.
So we saw like before he did the backstage beatdown on Cody Rhodes that he had a moment in the ring to where he just whispered something to Cody, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if that was The Rock saying, like, this was all planned, like that beatdown was planned, because at that moment he was like, okay, we gotta do this backstage to let the bloodline believe us that I'm on their side.
Like, could be a possibility.
Yeah, because I'm just like thinking, like, what if that was a staged attack, like by Cody and Rock? Like, I'm just like,
with this current writing, listen, with Vince in charge, we could predict all this. But with Triple H and The Rock having a lot to say, they're from that era we all love. They know what the fans want to see. Say what you want about The Rock, how he hogs the spotlight and he takes main event spots or whatever. All that's valid to a point. But these guys are making WWE great again as we speak. They're making it intriguing. They're making you think, is this going to happen? Or is this going to happen? And before we wrap this up, one thing I love that Triple H is doing is he's having people involved in multiple feuds at once to make it more intriguing for everything going on. It's not just, okay, this is going on and that's it. Like, Jay's feuding with Jimmy and Jay's feuding with Gunther and Jay, but go ahead.
Look at the Drew, Rollins, and Punk situation. Like, they've all been doing so many other things with so many other people as well.
Yeah, like it's like everybody's involved in multiple things, which makes it more intriguing. Like, the Bloodline story has so many different elements, and Jimmy and Jay are in a feud, and what is Solo going to do, and what is The Rock going to do, and what is Heyman going to do, and is Cody going to win, and what is Reigns going to do if he loses? It's just intriguing to me. I love it. I think it's great. I love wrestling, but at the end of the day, I love stories that keep you guessing. And that's what this Bloodline story is. It's just a puzzle we're all trying to solve, and none of us know what pieces go which right now. It's all just like, what the hell's about to happen to Mania? And I think that makes it more exciting for a main event. I don't know if you agree, but I definitely love that element of it. Sure.
But like the saying goes, by the end of the day, the story needs an end at that day.
Yeah, the Cody part of it definitely does. But the Bloodline story, it ain't ending.
Well, yeah, like the Bloodline itself, like the story for the Bloodline ain't ending. Yeah, I don't know if that means, but I don't know if that means like for the faction or the group to end. Like, there's so many things about it to where like, do we need the group to continue the story?
I feel like it depends how many people are in the group. Because I keep hearing, oh, let's get Maga-san, and let's get
Tama Tonga.
Yeah, him, and who's the other one? Jacob Fatu.
Oh yeah,
yeah, him too. Like, everybody keeps saying, "Oh, bring all of them in the group." But you don't want to have too many members because then it's just too much going on. It's good how it is. And Tama Tonga would be a good addition to it. But you don't want to add like 9, 10 members in the Bloodline. Just have it be a clusterfuck. You want to have it be maybe 5 to 6 is a good.
I don't know about that one either, but it's just like, I feel like this group, like, it doesn't need the group to continue this good story, because like, it's been a good story, like all the way back from Sami Zayn to there's a lot of good points, but I feel like we're at a point to where like, as a group, they don't really have anything else to do as a group. Like, they done a lot.
I definitely agree with that too. I don't know. I feel like the main thing is gonna be the Rock and Reigns feud, but we'll just have to see. I know we're getting close to the hour mark. I try to keep these episodes under an hour. So, Tears, any final thoughts before WrestleMania, before we wrap this up?
Rhea gonna be Rhea. Becky gonna be Becky. Seth, question for another time if his world title reign's really as good as it is.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed in the in-depth analysis here on the Bloodline story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe. We will see you guys next time.